Everybody, Creative Katie, Karen Burchill here. Welcome to another art journal tutorial. This one, I am doing the cover of this altered recipe binder, but you could do this as a regular art journal page or on a canvas. So here's the binder where I left off, and I'll put a link to the video where I talk about what I look for when I'm looking for something to alter. So after adding the texture with the tissue paper, I have decided to add a little bit more texture, and I use this stencil, new to me. It's called Raven Mosaic. It's a Crafters Workshop stencil, and as you know, I am a brand ambassador with the Crafters Workshop, and you can find their Shopify link in the description box below. So I'm giving that a dry, and I have decided that I'm going to use two colors, quinacridone magenta and Naples yellow. Now I have gone back and forth on this cover. It has sat incomplete for several weeks, and I was just undecided. And as soon as I started putting on the color, and I started with the pink, and I decided, with the flowers, the tulips there that I'm going to collage on, I'm just going to put the background is going to be very simply, mostly the Naples yellow with little bits of that pink, which will turn it into coral. And here I'm getting rid of some of that pink. So sometimes as soon as you start moving your hands, touching the paint, moving the paintbrush, inspiration comes to you. It just became all of a sudden very, very clear. This is what I needed to do to let that tulip that I'm going to collage down there, let it shine. So I just want a little bit of that pink from the tulips, and this way it's going to stand out. There will be texture, and this is definitely a case of less is more. So I'm leaving that space open. I didn't put any texture paste there because I am going to collage on it, and I didn't want to have to do that over the modeling paste. You can collage over modeling paste and be quite successful. So here I grab a makeup sponge, and it just helps get that paint into all the nooks and the crannies. There are several layers of tissue paper on this cover, and I just want to really bring that texture out. So I'm doing the back. Now I've decided not to put any additional texture from modeling paste on the back cover, simply because it is the cover. But I did want this all to be the same. And here I'm just rubbing my makeup sponge. It has a little bit of pink on it. Very, very dry. I'm rubbing it over, and it's just going to bring up the texture it's going to show off the texture from the tissue paper application. And it's going to make that corally color. I want it to look soft. I want it to be all very one tone. So I'm just very, very lightly pressing over that, getting a little bit of that pink in there, bringing out the texture, adding interest. So in this case, there's no stamping, just the one stencil with the modeling paste, just to add a little more something, something. But you have a lot of texture because of the tissue paper technique. So there are the tulips. It is February. And on Vancouver Island, it is the beginnings of spring. The tulips are about 6 inches up, no flowers yet, but we do have some of the spring blossoms have already started, the crocuses and stuff. And since I love tulips, I think that's why I fell in love with that picture of the tulips, which is why I had picked it out and cut it out, and it is the inspiration for the background, for the entire cover. And when you're putting something on a cover, something that you're going to see every day, it should be something that you love. I love tulips so much that when we got married in October, as our gift to our guests, we handed out tulip bulbs. And so the next spring, there was Tulip Watch 2011. So I'm just going and I'm adding more Naples yellow, I'm adding more of the quinacridone magenta, building up layers of interest. If I get too much magenta, I can add more Naples yellow on top, let it dry, and it's kind of the dance between till you get what you like. And when you like it, that's when you stop. I didn't want too much pink where I'm going to collage the flowers because I want the tulips to pop and I don't want them to compete with the background. So I decided to put in the saying here, trust the journey. This is going to be an art journal. And you can see I've done gold there. I've also gone over with a makeup sponge with gold, and I'm so glad that it actually showed up on the camera. It's the same color or tone as the Naples yellow. It's just got that shimmer. It just makes it special. But back to my sentiment here, trust the journey. And I think that's a good sentiment for an art journal because that's what it's really all about. Many times when I start, I don't know where I'm going to go. And sometimes I end up in a completely different place. And you just have to trust that you're making the right decisions and trust that you can solve the problems that arise. So here I'm using my letter stamps, wooden letter stamps, and I've had these for years. Just recently I've dug them out and I'm loving using them. I am stamping them in. I've got black acrylic paint and I spread that out on my glass mat and I tap it in there and I'm printing it. It's not perfect. You could go over this with a liner brush and black paint. You could go over this with a black gel pen if you wished. I like kind of that rustic kind of look. I didn't always, which is why didn't use my letter stamps because I can never get it as perfect as what I thought I should. But now I absolutely love it and I'm using what's in my stash. I debated between what color to put. I was debating between white and the black. And because I'm adding the black here, I also end up adding black when I'm shading. I also do, although it's not on the video, sorry, I also rub black very lightly over the textured areas just to get a little bit of that black into the background as well. It was just looking a little too light. Here I'm splattering the black. Again, same idea. I'm introducing that black into the rest of the background. So there's a reason for the black to be there. And now I'm just edging my binder. And I apologize for the lighting, while we are entering spring, it's been very, very cloudy and I've had a hard time getting going creating. So it's usually mid-afternoon before I get going in the creating and it's not the best time for the light. So then I need an overhead light to see what I'm doing and then you get that glare. So click on the eye in the top right hand corner and that will take you to links where I talk about this altered recipe binder and what I look for when I'm picking an altered book to turn into an art journal and the steps that I took in getting it to where we started today. So here I'm using my liquid matte medium, and I'm putting it underneath and over top of this tulip. Now this is just printed out on regular copy paper, nothing too fancy. And then I cut it out with scissors and an X-Acto knife. So when you find an image you like, that can be the jump off point to the rest of your art journal page. What colors are in there? Those colors work. They've caught your eye, so use the other artist's work. Now here I'm introducing a little bit more black. I am using the floating acrylic technique, and I'm just shading a little bit of this tulip just to make it look like it belongs on this page. So I'm shading on top of the tulip here, and then I'm going to shade with the black on the outside on the actual background. But I don't keep all of that. I don't show all of that because it's a long process where you add a little bit, let it dry, go back, add another layer, again, till you get the look that you like. But you can see with that little bit of shading how it just makes these flowers pop all the more and blend with the background and everything that I've got going on. Now, because there's a coat of matte medium, it goes on fairly quickly. It also allows me, if I get in the wrong place, I can wipe it off either with my finger or a baby wipe. What's your favorite spring blossom? Here on Vancouver Island, we have the hellebores are blooming, and there are some cherry blossoms that have bloomed. I've seen some azaleas and some rhododendrons blooming a little bit. Crocuses are out, little irises. So here I am putting all the contents back in, and can see some of the finished pages. You can check out the links, and I'll link those as well. Here are some close-ups of this cover. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I'm going to enjoy using my new art journal. Bye for now.